He's a tough street-fighting lawyer with the highest ratings for honesty and integrity. He's here to answer your legal questions and get you the help you need. You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with your lawyer, Joe Ingram of Joe Ingram Law. Joe Ingram has more than 20 years' experience fighting for his clients here in the state of Alabama. Joe's focus is criminal defense and family law. You don't have to face your legal issue alone. You've got Joe Ingram on your side. In case of sensitive legal matters, you can always reach out directly to Joe at joeingramlaw.com and arrange for a private consultation. And now, Alabama's defender of the defenseless, protector of the people, and all-around good guy, Joe Ingram.
All right. You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram, your Alabama lawyer, on WERC 105.5 FM in Birmingham. And we are also on WBHP 102.5 Huntsville and WRTR 106.9 in Tuscaloosa. 105.9. Thank you, John. I knew I was going to get it wrong. That's why I asked you before we started. See, I already got it wrong, folks. Got to correct myself. We want to welcome the Huntsville and Tuscaloosa market to the Legal Lowdown for 2026. Today is January the 23rd, 2026. We're into the new year. Folks, I was out running yesterday. For those of you that make New Year's resolutions, some of you have already broken them. You've already given up. That's why I've preached to you for the last year. There is a difference between a resolution and a goal. A goal has a plan. A resolution's just a dream that you drop off by January the 31st. Anyway, if you're listening to the show, we enjoy you to listen, download, share the podcast with your friends and family. If you have a question, you can go to the iHeartRadio app, click on the little red button. That is the Spy for Rent hotline. Spy for Rent hotline is our major sponsor. Jeff Hammock, Corey Fuller, they are investigators in the state of Alabama. They can get you what you need if you need an investigator in the state of Alabama. Today, we have a special guest, and we talked about this earlier. 26 is an election year, and we are going to have a lot of guests over the next coming months that are running for statewide offices. Today, we have a guest that's going to run for the Alabama Public Service Commission. His name is Matt Gentry. We're going to talk with him in just a minute about running for the Public Service Commission. A little bit about me. I'm Joe Ingram. I'm an attorney in the state of Alabama. Been practicing law now for 23 years. We do divorce work, we do criminal work, and we do personal injury work. If you have a divorce case, this is the time of year when you call me. I did 3 consults this week for divorce. I don't promote divorce. It's just a fact of life, folks. 50% of all marriages end in divorce. And divorce falls under 3 categories. People either fall out of love, they're too in debt, or they wake up one day, the kids are grown, and we call it a gray divorce. They don't know their spouse, and they're ready to move on. It's just a fact of life. So we do divorce work, we do modifications, we do alimony, we do prenups, we even do postnups for those that wake up one day and realize, hey, I need to protect my assets. I don't think this is going to go well. We handle criminal cases as well. Criminal cases in state court, which are felonies. We handle cases in municipal court, which are misdemeanors. Everything from shoplifting, DUIs. I've had several of those for the month of December if you follow our podcast. And those that have possession of marijuana second. And then we also represent people for personal injury, and we're going to talk about that a lot today and in the coming months and weeks, personal injury cases this year that we are really going to focus on. So right now, let's get to our guest who has given his time to come down and talk to us today. His name is Matt Gentry. He is the sheriff of Cullman County, Alabama, has been for a good while now. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate y'all letting me be here and talk about what we're going to do in this upcoming election, and it's going to have a great day today.
Okay, Matt. So introduce yourself to the audience. Tell them a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Born and raised in Cullman County, and I graduated from Good Hope High School many years ago, and my goal was to play football at the University of North Alabama, and so I did. I did not realize that you had to be good at school and football to stay there. So after a year, I thought it was easier for me to join the Marine Corps, so I joined the United States Marine Corps, and I was in the 4th Battalion, 14th Marines, which is a reserve unit out of Bessemer, and artillery unit, and started meeting a lot of guys in law enforcement. And August the 2nd, 1999, I got hired on at the sheriff's office in the jail, and started my career. And then in 2004, after working patrol, went to narcotics, and I spent 11 years in narcotics, and the last 4 at DEA out of Birmingham. And then I was blessed to win an election in 2014 for the office of sheriff. At the time, I was the youngest sheriff in Alabama. I was 35 when I was elected, and I announced last year that I was going to, or a year and a half ago now, that I was going to retire after 27 years in law enforcement and 12 as the sheriff of Cullman County.
So what tell people what the Alabama Public Service Commission is in a nutshell, because 98% of the people in the state of Alabama doesn't even know that entity exists.
Oh, no, that's a great question. When I announced that I was going to retire from law enforcement and being the sheriff, and I had a lot of citizens in Cullman that were mad at me, and they said, "Sheriff, we don't want you to retire. You ran the last 2 terms unopposed, and we want you to continue to be our sheriff." But I started looking at ways I could continue to serve Alabama, and I thought about the way I was raised in Cullman County. My granddaddy was a sweet potato farmer and raised cattle, and my dad went to Auburn, and he's a forester by trade, but went to work for Drummond Coal Company in 78 and spent 24 years with them. And I looked at the Public Service Commission, and that's a position that no one knows anything about but touches every citizen in Alabama. They regulate power, of course, Alabama Power. They regulate trucking companies, railroads, natural gas, the Port of Mobile. They deal with fiber, broadband, anything to do with infrastructure, growth, and development is really the Public Service Commission.
What if you get elected to this position? How many people sit on the board?
So there's 3. I'm running for place 1.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the president's position, you have a place 1 and place 2.
Mm-hmm. So there's 3 members on the Alabama Public Service Commission.
Yes.
Okay, for the whole state.
For the whole state.
All right. And if you get on this Public Service Commission, what are some of the things that you would like to change, or what are some of the things that you are passionate about that you want to do in this new role?
Well, anytime you deal with regulatory issues, and as a sheriff, I'm regulated to death. I mean, I run a detention facility. I've got 430 inmates a day. I've got fed inmates. I've got state inmates, county, city inmates. I've got just shy of 170 employees, 110 deputies. So we talk about regulations, but one of the main things is to bring transparency to the position. Most people in Alabama doesn't know what the Public Service Commission does. I think you have to educate the community saying, hey, this is what it does, and this is how it can help you as an everyday citizen or business owner. So that was one of the first things that I want to do. And then, of course, stand a line for good regulations that will help us across the state of Alabama. And when I talk about bad regulations, I was lucky in 2017, and you being an attorney would love this, but I got sued by some liberal groups, and I got sued over bail. So I had a federal judge put an injunction on me, and I fought it for 5 years. And basically the concept was no matter what you're arrested for, you sign your own bond and walk out. And we fought it for 5 years and won in the 11th Circuit. Of course, after we won in the 11th Circuit, they kicked it up to the U.S. Supreme Court. They upheld it. And I didn't know the magnitude of this case in Cullman, Alabama, that if we had lost it, it would have changed bail across the U.S. I look at the Public Service Commission as the same concept. Regulations and things and decisions that the Public Service Commission make today can have a impact on our business owners and our citizens from now on. So you need good conservative values that will stand up and do what's right for the people. And that's one of the things I've been boots on the ground a long time, whether it's helping companies be successful, citizens be successful, and we want to continue that trend as the Public Service Commissioner.
Talking with Matt Gentry, the sheriff of Cullman County, he's running for Alabama Public Service Commission Place 1, correct?
Yes, sir.
We talked a little bit about things we're going to talk about today broadly. Data centers.
Mm-hmm.
Data centers. Talk about that, and why is that important under the Alabama Public Service Commission?
Well, one of the most important things is the data centers, of course. You think about power.
Mm-hmm.
You know, here recently there was the data center that was looking at Bessemer. Of course, Senator Britt came out with the high rates that we already pay in Alabama. And so, you know, the positive of a data center is that, guess what, we're trying to keep up with China and these other countries in growth. The negative is the amount of water and the power that it's going to use, and that burden could be put on our citizens and our business owners. And the data centers, the negative is they don't employ a lot of people. So they use a lot of power, a lot of energy, a drain on the infrastructure with water, those resources. But the cost is put down on our citizens, business owners, and there's not the economic growth of employment for Alabamians.
So where do you fall on that? You don't think we need the data centers?
You know, I think that you have to look at what's best for the community. I know we were looking at the what do they call it? The North Pipeline, the infrastructure, the road. That's going to, in my opinion, that provides more jobs, more economic stability for companies coming in on that pathway. So you do have to have data centers, but we got to look at, if this is what I believe, if you created a data center today, I don't think it's Joe Ingram's job to pay for it, because it's going to cost a lot of money for a little bit of benefit for you as a business owner and a citizen. Now, if these companies are willing to pay for the money and meet that economic, I'd say, let's say, drain, you know, should your power bill go up $100 or $50 because they're making millions of dollars? I don't agree with that. I think that Joe, who goes to work every day to be successful, ought to be taken care of, and these companies that come in need to brunt some of that burden, because, again, it's not going to have a high economic impact for Alabamians as far as jobs go.
Yeah. Did you see the interview the other day? You know who United States Senator Bernie Sanders is, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
He did a interview in the last week about data centers. Mm-hmm. He wants to put a moratorium on them in the United States. Did you see that the other day?
No, I didn't.
Okay. The reason I bring that up, he wants Congress to stop data centers and mm-hmm. do all these studies and mm-hmm. have hearings and all this garbage. If we don't build data centers, we're going to fall behind China mm-hmm. like nobody's business. We've got to have them in today's society. So, yes. I guess what I'm asking is, and I'm not trying to push you too hard.
No.
We got to have the data centers for the technology and AI, correct?
No, I agree. I mean, we have to have the data centers. I mean, AI is coming. The sheriff's office, I deal with technology every day. When I started, I hand wrote reports, but today, every one of my deputies, we have computers, GPSs, everything that we deal with is technology driven.
Right.
So yes, you got to have a data center. They're coming. Right. We know that.
Right.
My thing is if they're coming, I don't think the burden should be put on the hardworking men and women of Alabama with the benefit for them is not going to be as great as the ones that bring in the data centers. So I don't think your power bill or your water bill should go up because they're making millions of dollars off something and not providing jobs and economic stability. I think if you negotiate with these companies that come in with the data centers and say, look, you're going to come in, water, power is going to be there, which is you're going to have to grow that infrastructure. But I don't think it should be hit to the everyday Alabamians to pay for it.
I agree.
I think these companies have to have some skin in the game.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, they're coming, but have skin in the game. Don't come in and say, well, we're going to bring this, even though it doesn't provide jobs, but we want you to give us a tax abatement. I disagree with that.
Right.
Or, hey, we're going to bring a data center. We're going to make millions of dollars, but I want the backs of the Alabamians, the men and women that are out working every day to pay for it. I disagree with that.
No, I got you.
Yeah. I think they should have skin in the game and come in and say, we're going to bring it, but this is what we're going to do. We're not going to hit the everyday citizens and put it on their back to do it.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I see where you're going there.
Yeah.
So we have to have data centers. They don't really provide a lot of jobs per se.
Mm.
They take up an enormous use of power and resources that would go for the public. They need to fall into a special category of what they pay for utilities or whatever it is they use in the state of Alabama.
That's right.
They may get some benefits from us for special cost of buying the land or where they put it or wherever they put it in the state, but they need to pay their own way because they're making a profit here.
That's right, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't think the Joe Ingrams that's an attorney representing people, I don't think the men and women that work for Drummond Coal Company or the man and woman that's going to Lowe's to go to work should pay for them to brunt everything and make millions of dollars. I mean, they've got to have skin in the game. If they're going to come in and do it to be successful, to help, then they need to be part of taking care of it.
Yeah. Hey, I got a question, Matt, and I don't know the answer, and you might not know either, so I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No.
These data centers, what size of a building or facility are we talking about when we say a data center? I mean,
I think it depends on. I'll go. The only way I can relate it, because I've never been in one, but is my dispatch center. Mm. I've got my dispatch center, and then I've got a separate room for all the computers, all the stuff that makes it drive.
Right.
And I have to keep it extremely cool. I have to keep, because it generates so much heat and power. So when you're talking about something that will use as much power as they're looking, use as much water as they're looking, the centers are going to be pretty big to sustain that data that they're pushing out with those centers. So, I don't know if it's 1 million square foot or 2 million square foot, but I would assume by looking at them, they're going to be pretty large. And I would assume that the security there would be pretty tight.
High. Yeah, absolutely.
But, and when we talk about jobs, the problem is you can remote in and work these data centers from any other. You could be in California or Washington, D.C. It doesn't matter, because you can remote in and work it. And that's where you see the impact on the everyday Alabamians. Is it's not like you're going there to work.
Right.
Of course, you could work from home, use your computers and do what they need. But that's where you see the low economic impact on our everyday Alabamians, where, as Katie Britt talked about, Senator Britt talked about the growth of the corridor, when you got companies coming in and gas stations and different restaurants, hotels, it doesn't matter. You got boots on the ground, people that are coming to work and making money, and then they're turning that money back into the state by buying things and economic growth and development.
Yeah. One of the things I want to talk to you about today was you talked about wanting to fight the Green New Deal as far as keeping jobs here in the state of Alabama. How can you do that in your role at the Public Service Commission?
Just use Drummond Coal Company. Those jobs are important. Coal company, using our natural resources is important. I think utilizing what we have and don't outsource, the resources. Alabama's a wealth of natural resources, and I think you need to to bring in regulations that keep you in Alabama for those companies. I mean, it's very important that, you know, the Alabamians, whether it's in coal, it's timber, you know, gas, the natural resources we have, use it to keep it. We don't need it outsourcing in other areas. We want to keep it in Alabama and homegrown.
Yeah. So. When you announced for the PSC, what has been the reception so far? You and I spoke on the phone. You said you had driven like 27,000 miles across the state of Alabama. Sure. So, what's been your experience like in this election doing this?
It's been great. I mean, I've been very blessed. I received Alpha's endorsement. I received Forestry's endorsement, Petroleum and Convenience Market, and I like being around people. I enjoy meeting people, and this is what I tell them. I've been in law enforcement all my life. I've been the sheriff the last 11 years, and I don't know everything, but I'm willing to learn. I don't know everything about the Public Service Commission. You know, it's a vast position that people don't know about, and there's a lot of moving parts. But the biggest thing is I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to get in there and boots on the ground to do what is best for the citizens of Alabama and to help take care of them. Mm-hmm. I've been doing that for a long time. And it's kind of like being the sheriff. I knew the basic concepts of being the sheriff, but then once I got elected and got in there, I learned more about being the sheriff and learned more about what we can do to continue to be the voice of the citizens. I've got a saying at the sheriff's office: the office of sheriff don't belong to me. It doesn't belong to the deputies. It belongs to all of us. And when you see citizens and law enforcement standing shoulder to shoulder, that's a bond that's unbreakable. No different than the Public Service Commission. We get in there, boots on the ground. Once we learn everything that we need to know and continue to learn, it gives you a chance to be shoulder to shoulder with our citizens and be their voice and work for them.
Yeah. You know, I've always joked a lot. I used to work for Alabama Power when I was in college. I worked in corporate accounting, and we used to have a saying, and I'm going to get in trouble for saying this. We said, if you work for the Public Service Commission, you have 4 clients: the power company, the gas company, the water company, and the railroad. And as long as you keep those 4 people happy and they keep money in your coffers and your lobbyist group, you're good. Yeah. You agree or disagree with that?
No, I think it's the biggest animal in the room. I mean, I've heard that throughout the campaign, those similar things.
Right.
But if you look at my campaign, I mean, I'm a grassroots campaign. We've been very blessed. We've raised close to $400,000, and it's everyday citizens and companies that are out supporting me to do this, and this is what I would tell anybody, and it's even with law enforcement. We're going to make decisions you don't like, but I've had people come up and say, I need you to do something, as far as law enforcement wise. I'll say, I can't do that, but I've always been honest with them. It's no different than Alabama Power, trucking company, road. It doesn't matter to me. Right's right, wrong's wrong. I've always lived my life that way. And if I agree with you, I'll tell you I agree with you. And if I disagree with you, I'll tell you I disagree with you. But we'll always do what's best to make it work for the citizens. And it's no different as being the sheriff.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to take a break in just a minute. Matt Gentry is our guest today. He's running for the Alabama Public Service Commission. He is the sheriff of Cullman County. We'll be back in a few minutes, guys. Stay with us. It's 26. I've already screwed up, John. Huntsville's with us, Birmingham and Tuscaloosa. Roll Tide Row. Yes, they lost the Rose Bowl the other night. We might be looking for a new coach next year. We'll be back. Bye.
You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with your lawyer, Joe Ingram. If you need confidential legal help off air, reach out to Joe at joeingramlaw.com. Stay tuned for more. Joe will be right back after this break for news and weather. You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram. Joe is a 20-year veteran of the Alabama courts specializing in criminal defense and family law. If you need a private legal consultation, email Joe at joeingramlaw.com. And now, welcome back to The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram.
All right. This is Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram. Today is Saturday, January the 3rd, 26. We're in the new year. Huntsville, WBHP 102.5, and Tuscaloosa, 106.9. Thank you, John. WRTR, 105.9. I did it again, and I'm not drinking, folks. I promise. I'm on the wagon. John's laughing. I hadn't had a drink. Bear with me, Tuscaloosa. We'll get it right. All right, we're visiting with Mr. Matt Gentry. He is the sheriff of Cullman County, Alabama. He's been in the Marine Corps. He's run the sheriff's office for over a decade now. He's running for the Public Service Commission, and he's visiting with us today. And during the break, we were talking a little bit about data centers, how huge they are. It's like 12 gym high school buildings in a acreage lot for the power and the water.
It is. You know, the great thing is that we have Google at our fingertips.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the average large data centers are anywhere from 100,000 to a million square feet. That's just a large. I mean, I'd hate to see an extra large one.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, that takes up acres and acres and acres. I can relate it to RWC, which is a company in Cullman. Their first build out was over 1 million square feet, and how much land that took up for that company. So the data centers they're going to take up a lot of land and a lot of resources.
Yeah, and you know, this is thinking way down the line. Probably in about 30 years, they will figure out a way to make data centers, John, about half the size of what they are now. It's kind of like big box shopping malls, and then you don't need them anymore. And then we've built all this crap, you know?
It's like the first camera I had in my patrol car. I had VHS tapes.
Yeah.
And now it's all digital, and the camera's a little bitty for the guys. And they didn't have to stop at Walgreens and buy VHS tapes to put in their back of the patrol car. So
yeah. So, Matt, since you've been doing this, how many days a week are you campaigning?
You know, I probably average 4 to 7 days a week. You know, I mean, I'm doing something every day, and that's just my personality. I like to get out and work, go. You know, you're talking about, you know, driving 27,000 miles in the campaign. I enjoy seeing people, meeting people. It's really, we're a grassroots campaign where whether it's somebody gives you $5 or $500, we've been very, very blessed in that campaign, and it makes you feel good when somebody walks up and hands you $5 and say, "My name's, you know, Matt Gentry, and I want to support you." You know that person's going to support you and vote for you, and that's important to me.
Let me ask you a question, because I get to go to a lot of counties practicing law, and I've been to some very rural places in the state of Alabama. Can you think of anything? What's the most rural place you've been in the last year you thought, I never thought this place existed in Alabama? Can you think of one?
Really, no. I mean, I'm from Cullman County, and we've got, you know, of course, we got city and we've got county. So I've been at some rural places, you know, in Cullman County. And I'll say this, the last 4 years before I got elected, I was a task force officer at DEA out of Birmingham. Well, we worked 33 counties across Alabama, so my group did.
Mm-hmm.
So I've pretty much from Montgomery north, east, and west, I've worked across the state, and then even at times being in South Alabama. So I've been pretty blessed in my career to travel the state.
Yeah, it's a beautiful state, isn't it?
Oh, it's gorgeous, and we've got the best citizens ever. I mean, they're just great.
Yeah, we were talking during the break. Tell the audience a little bit about you and your experience with President Trump.
Well, I had our state senator, Garland Gudger, call me one day and said, "Hey, Sheriff," he said, "I want to ask you a question. I need to know yes or no." He said, "We've got Rock the South coming this week." He said, "I know you're going to be, just full board getting it done." He said, "If we do something the next week, would you kill me at that same site?" And I said, "Well, no." He said, "Well, could you do it?" And I said, "Well, I don't even know what it is, but I guess the sheriff and the Marine in me says, well, whatever it is, we'll do it and get it accomplished." He said, "Well, if we can get President Trump here for a rally, can you handle it?" I said, "Oh yeah, we'll handle it." And sure enough, we had 66,000 people there, and I was the last one to get to meet President Trump before he went on the stage. And so I deputized him as a deputy sheriff in Cullman County. And when I did, I've got a video of it, and me and him talking. I told him, I said, "Your first order as being a deputy sheriff in Cullman County is to go put Nancy Pelosi in jail." He started laughing and cutting up, and we had a great time.
Yeah, he's very down to earth, isn't he?
He is. I tell you what impressed me the most. We're in this tent, and there's 100 people in line to meet him, and they all had things for him to sign, and he was running a little bit late. And one of the staffers said, come out and made an announcement. "The president's not going to be able to sign anything. We're running late. We got to get him on the stage." And I heard him yell from behind the curtain, "If those people come here to see me, I will sign everything they have. I don't care how long it takes." And he did. He took his time, and he visited with everybody that was there to see him. And he didn't have to do that. And that's something that probably nobody in the room even paid attention to or caught. But I heard him yell from behind the curtain saying, "If they come here to see me, they'll see me, and I'll sign anything they have."
Yeah.
So that was impressive.
Want to ask you a question that you're not prepared for, but I just want to know. So the public service has monthly meetings, correct?
They do.
All right. Are those meetings able to be Zoomed in? People can watch those right now. Do you know that?
That's a good question. I believe they are, but I'm not 100%.
Yeah, I did some checking. That's why I was asking you.
Okay.
And I don't know the answer either, so I'm not trying to catch you off guard.
No.
One thing I would like to see if you get on, and I shouldn't say if, we're going to presume you win.
Yeah.
Make that happen.
Okay.
If it's Public Service Commission, if people can't drive to Montgomery to see the meetings, then make them Zoom so people can Zoom in and hear it, or at least have the ability to check it when they get home and see what's going on. So
no, I agree. I look at our county commission meetings, and anything that we do as an elected official should be made public. Our county commission meetings in Cullman County, I mean, we put those online. You can get online and watch.
Yeah.
There should be no difference. If they're not doing it, then I guarantee that that's something that we can do, because, again, you're the voice of the people.
Yeah.
All elected officials, and I know some probably have different thought process than I do on this, but you're in that position to be the voice of the people. We were talking earlier, and you asked me the question about, I'm retiring from law enforcement, 27 and a half years. And I've had people ask me the same question of, if you're retiring, why are you crazy to run a statewide race? And I said, listen, I've been serving people all my life. I like to work and see people be successful. If I can move into a position to help business owners and our citizens be successful, then why not do that? I mean, that's part of being who we are in society and in life. I mean, the good Lord put us on this earth to do more. And just because I'm retiring from one career doesn't mean that I can't continue to help people in another career.
There you go. So we've been visiting with Matt Gentry. He's running for Alabama Public Service Commission, State of Alabama, place 1. And he's been traveling the state. So, Matt, if people want to reach out to you, if they want to support your campaign, what can they do to do that?
So, of course, we have the media side of things. You can go to the internet and Google Matt Gentry for Public Service Commission. My website will come up. Facebook, Matt Gentry for Public Service Commission, that's going to come up. You can send me messages through Facebook. You can send me emails. You can support the campaign from those sites. Or if you just want to call me on my cell phone's area code 256-595-8862. And that's area code 256-595-8862. I've had that number for more years than I can remember. I'll continue to keep that number. And so I'm not getting rid of it. And, as a sheriff, I get a lot of calls. So
you put it out there. I didn't.
Oh, yeah. It don't bother me.
Okay. So thank you for coming in and visiting today. What do you want to leave our audience with before you head out, Matt, on your road and on your journey here the next couple months?
Well, first, I just want to thank all the citizens for their support and encouragement throughout this journey, and I just look forward to continuing on the next 5 months and us getting to May 19th, and Lord willing, we're going to win and continue moving forward and allowing me to be a voice for all citizens of Alabama. I've been a voice for Cullman County a long time, and I'm looking forward to being a voice for all Alabama.
Good. Well, Matt, I know you got a tough 5 months ahead of you. I know you do. You probably have a calendar and you mark the days off. One more day to go. I wish you well over the next 5 months, and let's see how this thing turns out for you. Okay?
Yes, sir. I appreciate it,
and we really appreciate you coming in and being a part of our show today. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Folks, we had Matt Gentry on with us today. He's running for the Alabama Public Service Commission, Place 1. He has been the Cullman County Sheriff for over a decade. He was in the Marine Corps. He has served this country. He has served this state honorably, and now he's asking to step up and serve again in a different role for all of the people of the state of Alabama. So if you are interested, go check out Matt Gentry on the internet and see what he's about. Seems like a good man to me. I've talked with him a couple times, and I got to visit with him today. You're listening to the Legal Lowdown. It's 26, folks. We're back. We are WERC 105.5. We are on in Huntsville 102.5, and we're on in Tuscaloosa WRTR 105.9. I got it right, John, the third time. Yes, I'm not drinking. Folks, those of you up in Huntsville and Tuscaloosa, welcome to the broadcast. Download it, like it, share it, listen to the podcast. If you have a question, if you have a comment, go to the little red button on your phone, the little red app for the iHeartRadio. That is the Spy for Rent hotline. That's how you can get to the show and ask us a question. Our featured sponsor for the Legal Lowdown is Spy for Rent. Spy for Rent. Jeff Hammock, Corey Fuller are the investigators that you need to know if you are going through a divorce and you're looking for somebody to investigate your spouse. If you're looking for someone to do a forensic investigation on a cell phone. If you're looking for someone to do a bug sweep of your house, and yes, folks, they do those a lot, believe it or not. I talked to Corey the other day about him doing a bug sweep on a house. They are exceptional in what they do. They're the best, and that's why I work with them exclusively in the state of Alabama. You're listening to the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram. We're back. My office number is 205-825-5297, 205-825-5297. You can always check us out on the web, joeingramlaw.com. What kind of work do we do? Well, we represent folks in divorce cases. It's a fact of life. We represent people in criminal cases, federal criminal, state criminal, municipal criminal. And we also represent folks in personal injury cases, and we're going to spend the second hour today. Yes, we're back in our 2-hour format. We're going to spend the second hour this morning talking a lot about personal injury cases in the coming year. So divorce, let's just talk about that in the next 12 minutes that we have in this segment. Divorce is a fact of life, folks. 50% of all marriages end in divorce. I don't promote it. I just represent people in those cases, and we're pretty good at what we do. And I always tell folks, if you're going to go file for divorce, go talk to a lawyer, find out what your rights are before you go down that path. See what you're facing as far as child support, See what you're facing as far as alimony. See what you're facing as far as a property division. See if you're going to have to give up money from a 401k plan. Go find out where you stand before you go down the road, okay? Did a number of consults this week. I always tell people that have been married for a number of years, that have assets, property, children, all the things that come into a marriage. Where do I start, Joe? Well, go get 5 years of tax returns. Go get a year of bank statements. Go get me what your W-2s are. Go tell me what your house is worth. Tell me what you owe on your mortgage. How much equity do you have in your home? How many credit cards do you have? What's your credit card debt? Are your cars paid for? What do you owe on your cars? Basically, folks, it's like a business transaction. I hate to say it, but it's true. We need to know what your assets are. We need to know what your liabilities are. And then we can figure out how to cut up the pie. Because at the end of the day, in the state of Alabama, you're not going to get everything you want. Divorce is ugly. There are no winners. There are no losers. You're dividing a business. A marriage is a business in a sense. And when you divide a business, you don't get everything you want. Even if the other party is totally at fault, you're not going to get everything you want. It's just a fact of life. So that's where you start with a divorce case in the state of Alabama. Criminal cases. Joe, what kind of criminal cases do you represent? Well, we do cases that involve state criminal cases that are felonies. Everything from manslaughter all the way down to drug cases. And yes, Matt visited with us today. I have a manslaughter case up in Cullman County that's going to trial in March. There was a case this past week, John, on AL.com, happened 2 days ago in Hoover. I think it was an older man. I think it wasn't in the news story. He had a bicyclist, and then they found him later, and they charged him, I think Thursday or Friday this week, with a hit and run. I think he killed the bicyclist. Usually when people run from an accident like that, it falls into 3 categories. Either they have dementia, it's alcohol, or drugs. I mean, why else would you stop? If you get hit, you get hit. You just stay on the scene. You don't leave the scene. You don't make it any worse. So I haven't seen the reporting to see if it was somebody that was elderly and just didn't need to be driving, or if it was an alcohol or drug-related event. But there was a cyclist killed, I think, down in Pelham Thursday or Friday this past week. So that can be a manslaughter case, or it could even be a criminally negligent homicide case. Drug offenses. Drug offenses fall into lots of categories. It can be those that start out going to a doctor taking pain pills, and then they get hooked on narcotics, and it becomes an addiction, folks. It could also be a veteran that is taking drugs because they have serious injuries from serving this country for the last 25 years, and they get hooked on pain meds. And we have a huge number of people in this state of Alabama that have served this country honorably, and they're homeless, and they're out panhandling for money for drugs. I see it every day, and it's sad. The good thing is that we've created some avenues for these people. We have veterans affair courts. We have drug courts, so that people are not tattooed for life because they make a mistake or something happens, and it doesn't need to change their whole career or their whole life. And if you're out there and you are a total right-winger like me, and you're saying, well, Joe, they broke the law, they need to go to prison. No, you're wrong. We don't put people away that have a drug addiction, okay, unless it's a second or third offense. Let's clean them up, and let's make them a productive member of society. And by the way, those that have served this country honorably, that are veterans, that come home, they don't have a home, they don't have a job, they don't have a family, they go out and commit a property offense to steal because they need money. Those people don't need to be in prison either. They have done what the very few in this country will do. They go out and fight for this country on foreign land and protect all of us. And they deserve better than that. And I mean that with all my heart. And then there is municipal court, my favorite. Municipal court has another word, if you know it on the street and you're a street lawyer. It's called money court. It's sad but true. Municipal court is money court. It's either a DUI, it's either possession of marijuana second, shoplifting, or a domestic violence case. Is generally what you see in municipal court. And the number of municipal courts I go to, and people do not have counsel, is really sad. They think, oh, I can go handle this myself. This is no big deal. No, it is a big deal. I represented somebody back in December that tried to handle their own municipal court case a year ago. And they signed a plea agreement that said if they didn't comply, they would do a year in the city jail. And they didn't comply. And their hands were tied. Thank goodness they hired me. I was able to soften the blow, if you will, a little bit. They didn't get a year. They did 48 hours in the city jail. But they didn't do a year, but they didn't hire counsel a year ago. But I did save them something. So if you do have a criminal case, folks, go hire representation, okay? It's worth it. I don't practice to be an accountant. I practice to be a lawyer. Go hire a lawyer. You're listening to the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram on WERC 105.5. We want to welcome the Huntsville broadcast and the Tuscaloosa broadcast to us this year. We look forward to hearing from you. We represent people all the way from Huntsville, Birmingham, Montgomery, Mobile, Tuscaloosa, and even the Dothan area. It's a little side joke I have. If you go back and listen to the very first podcast that we did over 2 years ago, you'll figure out the joke about the Dothan area. But by the way, I was reading the news over this weekend. The Dothan area is growing by leaps and bounds, almost as much as Madison County. Yes, folks, if we live here in the greater Birmingham area, we are falling behind. The growth is in North Alabama, and the growth is in South Alabama. Birmingham, Jefferson County is stagnant, and I don't know why. And I'm not going to name names of politicians right now. All I'm saying is that we're not really growing for whatever reason. That's for another day and time to talk about that. But for this first hour, I really want to talk about people that are about to file for divorce. You're about to make a big decision that's going to affect the rest of your life. You need to get your ducks in the row. I've done a number of consults this week. I don't promote divorce. I just represent people in divorce cases. There's a term we use. It's called the throw it all out in the wind and go after the other spouse. That's not a good concept, folks. That never goes well with the court, and it's not going to go well for you. And unless you really have a reason to go off on the limb, I try to talk you out of doing that, okay? You need to sit down. You need to be reasonable. Divorce courts, if you heard Judge Brian Huff that was here a few weeks ago, the most reasonable party in a divorce case usually comes out better if the case goes to trial. The most reasonable person comes out better if the case goes to trial in divorce court. It shows that you're being reasonable. It shows that you're trying to work with your spouse. It shows that you're trying to work for the best interest of your children. It shows that you're working for the best interest of your family unit. It shows that you're being fair in a division of assets or property or division of debts in your marriage. The most reasonable person comes out better in divorce court every single day of the week. And I know that because I've probably tried over 100 divorce cases in my 22 years, and that's a lot in the state of Alabama. Because in today's day and time, they make us go to mediation first before we try the case. And it's a good thing to do is to go to mediation. If you can resolve your case, why not have a say in how your case turns out? rather than letting a judge determine what happens with your family unit, nucleus, and assets. You still have a say in what happens in the death of your marriage. And that's what it is. It's the death of a marriage. You're listening to the Legal Lowdown. We're going to go to the news here in about a minute and a half. Folks, we're back for the year, and we are so excited. We're going to have a number of featured guests that are running for statewide office, as we've promised you. We have a lot of good guests, a lot of good panelists coming, lawyers, judges that are excited to be back on with us this year, and we're back as well. We'll be back in about a minute to start the second hour of the Legal Lowdown. Thank you. Bye.
You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with your lawyer, Joe Ingram. If you need confidential legal help off air, reach out to Joe at joeingramlaw.com. Stay tuned for more. Joe will be right back after this break for news and weather. He's a tough street-fighting lawyer with the highest ratings for honesty and integrity. He's here to answer your legal questions and get you the help you need. You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with your lawyer, Joe Ingram of Joe Ingram Law. Joe Ingram has more than 20 years' experience fighting for his clients here in the state of Alabama. Joe's focus is criminal defense and family law. You don't have to face your legal issue alone. You've got Joe Ingram on your side. In case of sensitive legal matters, you can always reach out directly to Joe at joeingramlaw.com and arrange for a private consultation. And now, Alabama's defender of the defenseless, protector of the people, and all-around good guy, Joe Ingram.
All right, today is January the 3rd, 2026. We are back for the second hour of our show. Yes, we're back for our 2-hour format version. For those of you that are listening, this is the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram, your lawyer, here in Birmingham, 105.5 WERC. We would like to welcome people up in Huntsville, WBHP 102.5, and those in Tuscaloosa, WRTR 105.9. Yes, I think I got that right this time. We'd like to welcome you to our podcast as well. If you are listening and you have the iHeart Radio app on your phone, click on that. You can reach the show if you have a question or comment. That is the Spy for Rent hotline. Spy for Rent hotline. Jeff Hammock, Corey Fuller are our investigators. They can represent you if you need an investigation, if you need paper served, anything you need. Spy for Rent are the people you need to know. So we had our first hour, and we had Matt Gentry that stopped by. And as we discussed, we're going to have a number of people come in over the next year that are running for statewide offices in 26 to visit with us, because you want to hear from them as a person that's going to vote in the state of Alabama. This is the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram. My office phone number is 205-825-5297, 205-825-5297. Look us up on the web, joeingramlaw.com, joeingramlaw.com. If you call my office, you can speak to either Holly or Elizabeth. They will get you in for a consultation. What type of work do? We handle people that represent that need representation for a divorce case. We represent people in criminal matters, and we represent people in personal injury cases, and we're going to spend a lot of this next hour talking about that, about personal injury. But I want to talk a little bit about what's been in the legal news this last week, a couple things that stand out to me that I like to always check up on. The Supreme Court came out in the last week. There's been a lot of executive orders issued by President Trump. And this isn't a right or Democrat issue for me. The Supreme Court told President Trump that he could not put the military in Chicago. One of my favorite justices, Justice Alito, wrote a scathing dissent. Why do you not want to clean up your city streets? If you can have free troops to help come in, why do you not do that? Why? Even if it is a Democratic state. I get it. Why do you not want people there to clean up the organized crime? Oh, and by the way, John, if you didn't read the news the other day, there was a big story on Christmas Eve. 400,000 pounds of lobster was stolen from a Costco warehouse. Folks, where do you put 400,000 pounds of lobster? I'm going to tell you the answer. That's organized crime. It either went to Chicago, New York, or L.A., or overseas. Where else did you take 400,000 pounds of lobster for Christmas? I saw that story and I thought, I've got to talk about that. I love Costco, folks. I love Costco. That is my favorite store in the world. Also, there are a number of lawsuits that are piling up in the federal district courts related to executive power. They are just piling up on top of each other. It is already 26. People are talking about the 28 election. President Trump is a lame duck walking. Nothing is really going to happen significantly in the next 2 years in Congress. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, folks, anything that happens is going to come from the White House. The legislature has no desire to do anything in 26 because it's an election year. All of the House is up. A third of the Senate is up. Everybody's running for election. So nothing's going to happen legislatively. I'm just telling you. Something else I want to talk about, the Epstein files. I don't care where you fall on this. Just put it out there already. Wherever it is, wherever it lies, let's just put it out there and be done with it, okay? The guy committed suicide years ago in a prison. Just put the stuff out there about Epstein already. It's over. We can't change it. Whoever did what they did, then they haven't been prosecuted, or they're not going to be prosecuted, or they may be prosecuted. Just get it out there already. That's how I feel about that. Jack Smith. Who is Jack Smith? He's the U.S. attorney that was put on as the bloodhound dog to go after Trump. Did you see in the news this last week where he testified in a deposition with the House about where he got some of the information for an affidavit to go search Mar-a-Lago? He admitted it was third-hand testimony, hearsay from a woman. Can you believe that? A U.S. attorney admitted the information he used to go get a search warrant for a former president of the United States was hearsay. That is really scary. That is really scary. We are coming a third world banana republic institution if that is what we're doing, going after our political enemies. He admitted it. Scary stuff out there. That really bothers me as a lawyer. And why did he resign immediately when Trump won the election? And all of the evidence that they've been working on for the last 2 years, they put in burn bags. Why do you put stuff in a burn bag except unless you know it's incriminating to you and you're looking at going to prison for a long time? If you followed the story we talked about a couple weeks ago, Rob Reiner and his wife that were murdered out in California. All of that information has been sealed. It looks like it was a pretty brutal crime scene that happened out there. Hate to see anybody in their life in that matter. It looks pretty damaging. We were talking during the break about some of the stories that have been on the news the last couple of days. There's not a lot of news. There was a young lady out in Texas that was either kidnapped on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day out in Texas. Nice young lady, 19. They found her body about 2 days ago in a field. She was murdered with a shotgun. That is really sad that happened. That for the rest of that family's life, they will tie Christmas to the day that their daughter was murdered. How sad they're going to have to live with that the rest of their life. What an event. We mentioned the story in the first hour about the bicyclist that was hit down in Hoover this last week, and the person driving the car was picked up, I think, within a few hours or within a day. The story didn't really elaborate. Folks, if you hit somebody, even if you're drinking or using drugs or whatever, please stop. Don't make it any worse. Please stop and accept responsibility if you hit somebody. Okay? Just food for thought there. You're listening to the Legal Lowdown. This is Joe Ingram, 105.5 WERC. We're on in Tuscaloosa, WRTR, and we're on in Huntsville, WBHP for the next year. If you listen in, please let us know. Go to your little red app on your iHeartRadio. That's your Spy for Rent hotline. The Spy for Rent hotline is our sponsor for our show. Jeff Hammock, Corey Fuller are the investigators you need. If you need an investigator in the state of Alabama, they can help you in anything that you need with. So let's talk a little bit about personal injury cases. My office represents people for personal injury. What does that mean, Joe? Well, you're injured in an auto accident, and the other person is at fault. If you're in the car and you're injured, if you're able to get out, get out. Get some information from the other side. Get their insurance information. Exchange phone numbers. Exchange email addresses. If you're not able to get out of the car, don't get out, okay? If you need help, call 911. Paramedic will come. Don't lie about whether or not you had the seatbelt on. If you did have the seatbelt on, don't say that you did. It may come back and it may hurt you in your case later. Do not lie if they say, were you texting and driving? Don't say, no, I didn't have my phone in my hands. Folks, we have so much technology today. It's real but simple to see if you were making keystrokes at the time of the accident and were texting and driving. Don't lie. Just tell the truth. In an auto accident, I've got one right now. I'm pretty sure the guy that tattooed my guy was texting and driving when he hit the guy at about 50 miles an hour and my guy's sitting still at a stop sign. It's obvious. Don't lie. So if you're in a car wreck, you need representation. Hire an attorney. Don't think, well, I'll just settle this with the insurance company on my own. Because the first thing they're going to do, an insurance adjuster is going to call you and ask you to make a statement. Well, that statement is going to be recorded, and that statement is like a statement to the police. That statement is going to stick with you. Whatever you say, you're stuck with it. You do not have to give a statement immediately to an insurance adjuster. Go get representation, get a copy of the police report, sit down, make a timeline of what happened, get your story together before you either decide to talk to an insurance adjuster or you have a lawyer represent you in your car accident where you're not at fault, okay? If you are hit by a tractor trailer, that's a more serious car wreck. Please, please, please get representation if you are hit by a tractor trailer. You are probably going to have significant injury to your car, and you're probably going to have some significant injury to yourself, even if it's soft tissue damage. When you get hit by a 12-ton moving vehicle of 50 miles an hour or 60 miles an hour, it's going to hurt the next day. go to the hospital, get some medical treatment. And by the way, I talked about this last year up there on Corridor X, highway, was that Interstate 22? There are not any cameras to show what happened in the traffic on 22. I had a tractor trailer case up there 5 years ago, and my client said, Joe, I was hit by a tractor trailer. He knew the name of the company. The tractor trailer ran off. The state trooper couldn't find him. The only way we were able to find him, because there were no cameras up there, is because he knew the name of the trailer on the truck. And sure enough, they went down and tracked this tractor trailer, and they found the damage on it, and they asked the driver, they said, did you have an accident and a hit and run? And he admitted it. Obviously, he lost his job. We were very fortunate enough that we recovered money for that person that was in a tractor trailer accident. Motorcycle accidents. I was on the interstate on Friday coming up 459. You know those jetpack bikes that go like 150 miles an hour? I don't know what you call them. They scare me to death when they get around me. They're going in and out of traffic. I mean, I can't imagine being on that motorcycle doing that. And I'm thinking, I'm going to talk about motorcycle accidents on Saturday. Folks, if you have one of those bikes, why are you on the interstate going over 100 miles an hour in and out of traffic? You're going to end up being just road rage rash. I'm sorry. It's just out there. If you are a motorcyclist and you are in an accident and you need representation, please call my office if you need representation. 205-825-5297, 205-825-5297. Slip and fall cases. You don't see a lot of these anymore because companies have gotten so good with legal representation that if you go to a grocery store and you know there's water down in the milk aisle, they'll put a sign up that says caution, wet area. You don't see this a whole lot anymore, but there still are some cases out there. We had a case about 4 years ago. Lady was at a truck stop. There was diesel fuel everywhere, and she slipped and fell trying to get back in her tractor trailer. That was a slip and fall case. Slip and fall case to you may not mean much. Well, depending on who you are as a person, it can be a significant injury. She was 5 feet tall, and she was morbidly obese. When she slipped and fell, she hit her head on the concrete. She could have died that day. She had a significant back injury. She had to have rods put in her back. She had to have orthopedic surgery. It was very expensive. It was very costly. So a slip and fall injury can be a very expensive and very serious injury to you if you're the person that gets hurt in a slip and fall accident. Okay? If you get hurt in one of those cases, don't jump up. If you need help, tell them. Call a paramedic. Go to the hospital. Get an x-ray. Get an MRI. Seek medical attention. Oh, and by the way, anytime you are the injured person in a personal injury case, folks, please do not tell the paramedic. Please do not tell the doctor. Please do not tell the nurse. I was just hurt in an accident. I'm going to sue them. They're going to write that statement down. Yes, they are. Okay, you're hurt. You're injured. You need medical attention. But you don't have to put it out there that you're like a serial filer looking for money, because then it doesn't help you as being the plaintiff needing representation and getting the full value of your case for your injury if you look like you're a serial personal injury person that's running around trying to get hit all the time. Be careful what you say. And this falls into a lot of worker comp cases, people that get hurt on the job. We used to do a tremendous amount of worker comp cases. People think there is a perception out there, well, if I get hurt on the job and I file a report, I'm going to lose my job. No, you're not. It's against federal law. They can't fire you for seeking medical treatment if you're hurt on the job. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, do not tell the HR person, do not tell the doctor, do not tell the nurse or the paramedic, I was hurt on the job. I'm going to sue them for everything they got. Don't make that statement. Just go get treatment. The sad thing for a worker comp attorney is that once we file a claim, once my client is getting treatment, once my client is had surgery and going to rehab or going to physical therapy or whatever, every time they go see the doctor, the nurse that represents the company, yes, they have a nurse that will go with that employee to their worker comp visit to see the doctor. And of course, I always get asked by a letter or a phone call and email, Joe, I'm the nurse for the company. Do you mind if I sit in the room when your client talks to the doctor? Yes, I do mind. Don't be in there. He's going to tell you what happened anyway. It's going to be in the notes. The doctor's going to make a report. But no, I don't want you to sit in the room with my client. At least they asked me that. So if you have a worker comp injury, seek representation, okay? It doesn't cost you a dime. And by Alabama state law, the most that a lawyer can charge you for a worker comp case is 15% of the award. And you should get 85% because you're the one that was injured, okay? So if you have a worker comp injury, call my office, 205-825-5297. What you don't see a lot of anymore, and there are still those out there, are what we call retaliatory discharge claims in a worker comp case. Joe, what is that? Well, you file a worker comp case, the company finds a way to terminate your employment for retaliatory discharge because you claimed you got hurt on the job. You don't see that a lot anymore in today's society because companies are too smart. I had one about 10 years ago. This guy was a veteran. He was working as a bartender. He picked up a keg of beer to put it under the bar. He hurt his back really bad. Then the keg fell and broke his foot. He had to go to the hospital. The next day, he went to work to report for work, even though he had a worker comp injury, and they said, you no longer have a job. Well, why don't I have a job? I don't know. We let you go today. They had absolutely zero evidence to support why they fired him. That worker comp injury, which was a little money because he had some injuries, turned into a retaliatory discharge claim for firing him for being hurt on the job. And that cost the company twice as much than the worker comp claim because they were stupid. And the insurance company that was hired to represent them, the lawyer told me, he said, I told him, why did you fire the guy? You just made their claim worth 3 times as much money. It's great for me as the lawyer. Don't do that. That's stupid. Somebody gets hurt on the job, you have insurance for it, or you're supposed to have insurance for it. And that's a whole nother story for people that run roofing companies that do not have worker comp insurance for their employees. That is really a sad event, folks. I've had those cases. If you have a labor job, make sure whoever you work for has worker comp insurance. It'll only cost you more in the end if they don't, by the way. Okay? So if you have a worker comp case, give us a call, 205-825-5297, 205-825-5297. You're listening to The Legal Lowdown. This is Joe Ingram, your Alabama lawyer, on 105.5 WERC. If you're up in Huntsville, WBHP. And if you're in Tuscaloosa, WRTR, Row Tie Row. Welcome to the Legal Lowdown. You're going to be with us for the next year. Please like, share, download our podcast, be a part of it. If you have people you want us to talk to, people that do employment law, whatever it is, give us a shout. We'll get those people in to talk to you so that you can hear the information that they provide. Because this show is all about information, and it's also supposed to be a little bit of funny, informative, have a little fun as well. We're going to take a break here in just a minute, and we'll be back for the last half hour of our first show of the new year. You're listening to the Legal Lowdown. This is Joe Ingram, your Alabama lawyer. Birmingham, WERC, Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, welcome to the broadcast. We're going to enjoy having you for the next year. We'll be back.
You're listening to the Legal Lowdown with your lawyer, Joe Ingram. If you need confidential legal help off air, reach out to Joe at joeingramlaw.com. Stay tuned for more. Joe will be right back after this break for news and weather. You're listening to the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram. Joe is a 20-year veteran of the Alabama courts specializing in criminal defense and family law. If you need a private legal consultation, email Joe at joeingramlaw.com. And now, welcome back to the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram.
All right, you're listening to the Legal Lowdown. Today is January the 3rd, 2026. We are starting the new year. This is WERC 105.5. We're on in Huntsville, WBHP 102.5. We're on in Tuscaloosa, WRTR 105.9. Welcome to the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram. You can call my office, 205-825-5297, 205-825-5297. You can speak with either Holly or Elizabeth for a consultation. This is the final segment of our first 2-hour show for the new year. We had Matt Gentry the first hour, who's running for the Alabama Public Service Commission, place 1. We talked a lot in the first segment of hour 2 about personal injury cases. We still haven't finished talking about personal injury cases, but there's a couple things we were talking about during the break, during the news, that I've got to talk about. The fraud case up in Minnesota. They can't even spell learning correctly for a learning center. Come on, guys. Massive fraud up there. Massive fraud. There's fraud everywhere in the government, but that is just astonishing. Hopefully they'll get to the bottom of that in the next year or so, or who knows? I don't know. Oh, I made a mistake. We looked it up, and I want to correct myself. It was not 400,000 pounds. It was $400,000 worth of lobster that was taken from Costco up in Maine. So go figure. I think that's organized crime. Somebody had a really good Christmas Day fest, if you ask me, in lobster. And I love lobster. So there you go. We wanted to correct ourselves. We checked that story. You're listening to the Legal Lowdown. This is Joe Ingram, your Alabama lawyer. The final segment we're going to talk about today is going to be a little bit about personal injury cases. We talked a little bit about car wrecks. We talked about people that are hurt in tractor-trailer accidents. We talked about motorcycle accidents. Motorcycles scare me to death. You could not get me on a motorcycle for anything on an interstate. We talked a little bit about slip and fall. We talked a little bit about worker comp cases and retaliatory discharge cases that, you know, if you get hurt on the job and the company fires you because you file a claim, well, you may have a claim for retaliatory discharge. It's not as hard to prove as you think it is, folks. It's really not. Something that's a really big deal in the state of Alabama, if you listen to the first hour, you'll know why. If you're a bicyclist in the state of Alabama, we have pedestrians that get killed on bicycles all the time. Really. I used to be in the cycling community heavily. Cyclists would get killed on Lakeshore. People would get killed over in Irondale. We have a big cycling community here in Homewood and Birmingham that ride around. And people think that people on a bicycle do not have a right to be on the road. Guess what? You are wrong as the day is long. People on a bicycle have the right to be on the road. So if you get hurt in a bicycle case and you need representation, call my office, 205-825-5297. There was a cyclist that was killed the other day down in Hoover on a bicycle. And the sad thing is, people that hit cyclists tend to run. They'll hit them and run. They won't even stop and say, yes, I hit the guy. It's really sad. Don't do that. If you hit somebody, please stay. Okay? You're only going to make it worse for yourself. Pedestrian accidents. If you listen to our show the week after Christmas, Justin Jones from Heroin, we joked a little bit about me. Yes, I got hit by a truck out running. Pedestrian accidents. Folks, I was out running this last week in Mountain Brook again. I almost got hit in another crosswalk. I'm not kidding. You can't make this up. Folks, when you see a crosswalk and you see the stop sign ahead, please stop behind the crosswalk. Don't pull up into the crosswalk. That's where people are walking or running. Just food for thought there. So if you are a pedestrian and you get hit by a car, you're probably not going to think to look up and see the car tag that hit you, but hopefully somebody around you will see the color of the car and call 911. It's sad, but it happens. Medical malpractice cases are a different animal. We had the expertise of Justin Jones with us last week. Medical mal cases are very hard to prove in any state, and they are even harder to prove probably in the state of Alabama. Joe, why is that? Well, it's unusual. You are going to find a physician in the state of Alabama that is going to testify against another physician in the state of Alabama and say that they were outside the standard of care. They're just not going to do that. They protect their own. Lawyers protect their own. So you have to go outside the state to get an expert witness to look at the records and say someone made a mistake, someone messed up here. You need to compensate them for their injury. They've been injured in some way due to your malpractice. You made a mistake. People make mistakes every day. That's why they call it the practice of law. That's why they call it the practice of medicine. That's why they call it the practice of dentistry. These are professions. You don't get it right every day, every single time. People make mistakes. Okay? That's why it's called medical malpractice cases. So those are personal injury cases. If you have a personal injury case, please call my office, 205-825-5297, 205-825-5297. Talk with Holly or Elizabeth, and we will get you in for a consultation if you need one. This is the Legal Lowdown. This is 2026. We're going to be back with you every Saturday this year. We're going to have a lot of good guests coming up. We have people that are going to run for the Attorney General that are going to come in. We have people that are running for governor that are going to come in. We have people that are running for the Public Service Commission, and there are only 3 spots. They're going to come in. We have people that are running for DAs, that are running for judgeships. We have lots of races in 26, and a lot of these people are going to come in, and they want to talk to you and share with you what their vision is for that position. So when you go pull the lever, we don't pull a lever in the state of Alabama. We circle a little box, by the way. You'll have some idea who you're voting for. So we're very fortunate. We're going to get a lot of those people. We've got some really good people coming up in the next few weeks. Judge Philip Bahakel is going to be here January the 16th, I believe. I don't have my calendar in front of me. I think the 16th is a Saturday. Judge Philip Bayhackle is going to be with us. He used to be a family court judge in Birmingham, and now he practices primarily divorce law in Jefferson and Shelby County. He's going to come in and be a panelist and share his expertise with us in a couple of weeks. We have some counselors that are going to come in and talk with us that testify all the time in custody cases. Folks, if you are going through a divorce, I want to tell you something right now. This is really important. If your children are going to a therapist, and I'm not going to name them. I'm not going to get in trouble. I'm not going to go there. There are counselors out there that will tell you, I will not go to court and testify in a custody trial. Well, if you think you're going to need a counselor or a social worker or a psychologist or a psychiatrist to testify in your custody case, you need to have that conversation right now and ask them, if I need you to come testify and I subpoena you, will you come testify as to an opinion? You need to know that. I have a custody case right now. These children have been seeing a counselor for probably a year or so or more. Well, this counseling group will not come testify at trial. It's too late to change horses for us. I don't want to do that to the children. They've developed a relationship with the counselors, but we don't have their expert testimony to testify in a courtroom. You need to find out if your children are seeing a counselor, if they're willing to come testify in court. That is really important to know. That is food for thought here, okay? And that's totally free. So you need to know that right out of the gate. We are going to be back full force on Monday at the office. I've got trials. I've got depositions this week. If you need a consultation, call. We'll try to get you in. We are almost booked for the month of January. Our phone number is 205-825-5297, 205-825-5297. If you have a question and you want to reach this show, go to the little red app on your phone, the iHeartRadio app. That is the Spy for Rent hotline. That is our featured sponsor of the show, Jeff Hammock, Corey Fuller. They are investigators. They're great. They do investigations in divorces when infidelity is an issue. They go out and do investigations for those. If we are having to do searches on cell phones, they do cell phone forensic searches. They do bug sweeps. They serve papers. They are great investigators. They work all over the state of Alabama. Spy for Rent are the ones you need to know. Okay. If you are coming to see me this week to file for divorce, please do not come in wanting fire and brimstone. It will not go well for you in the courtroom. I talked to you in the first segment of the second hour. The most reasonable party does well in a divorce case. And yes, your spouse may have committed infidelity. Yes, your spouse may have stolen money. Yes, your spouse may have run up the credit cards and you're going to be stuck paying the bills. Yes, your spouse has not been honest with you throughout the marriage. Okay, we're going to deal with that in a very reasonable and measured way. We are not going to burn the place down. We're just going to deal with the issues one at a time, and we're going to do it in a very reasonable and measured way because you will do better in front of the judge if we have to try your case, and we will do well and better with the mediator when we get to mediation in your case. And yes, most divorce cases resolve in mediation, and they should. They can. Unless it's a custody trial, you can't divide children. Somebody has to win, somebody has to lose in those scenarios. If you have a criminal case and you need representation throughout the state of Alabama, from Huntsville, Birmingham, Montgomery, Mobile, Tuscaloosa, and even the Dothan area, give us a call, 205-825-5297, 205-825-5297, or look us up on the web, joeingramlaw.com. joeingramlaw.com. We will get you in for a consultation if you need to come in and see us. I want to talk a little bit about what I was talking about earlier about Corridor X and car wrecks. Everybody has a voice out there. Reach out to your representative, reach out to your senator, reach out to your legislator. Ask them why we do not have any video surveillance on Corridor X 22, one of the main arteries going up through Walker County into Mississippi. That is a huge stretch of road, and there is not any video surveillance up there for car wrecks. And it's going to be really important over the next 10 or 20 years. Why do we not have any video surveillance up there? It's really important, folks. We need that. So you have a voice. Reach out to somebody and ask them why we don't have it and why we can't pay for it to put it up there. Okay? Just something to think about. I'm going to ask you out there as a listener, when you listen to the podcast, tell us what you want to hear. Do you want to hear people talk about employment law? Because we get people that call us every day and they need a reference for an employment lawyer. Yes, there are still employment law cases out there. There are people that need representation selling a business. I don't do transactional work. If you need to hear from a professional that does transactional work, let us know. We'll go find the best person. I know some that will come in and talk about transactional work. I have a friend right now that's about to put their business on the market. I said, this is not something in my wheelhouse, but let's go find somebody that does this. First thing they want to know is what the value of your business is worth. What's the assets? What's the debts? What's the liabilities? What am I buying here? What's the book value of the company? And also what goes with the company is called the goodwill that the person has built that company that's about to go on the market. So that's something to think about, transactional work. People that do real estate transactions. You have residential transactions and you have commercial real estate transactions. Those are two different animals. People that do commercial real estate transactions, those take months to do. A residential transaction maybe take 30, 45 days. Those are two separate animals, okay? And we're going to talk about both of those in the next year because we're here to provide information to those that want to know about it. The biggest stories we wanted to talk about this week that were in the news was the Minnesota fraud up there. Hopefully they get to the bottom of that. The Epstein files, they're playing games with putting the information out and then taking it off the DOJ website. Just put it out there. Let's get on with it. Let's prosecute whoever needs to be prosecuted in those cases. Either way it goes. I don't know. That's just my thought. And in 26, there's not going to be anything done in the legislature because it is election year. The biggest stories internationally going on right now, there is an uprising in Iran. There has been a huge drought in Iran the last few months, and the currency in Iran is gone. It has reached the universities. People are rioting in the street. There is a chance again, unless they put it down, that the Iran regime may be coming to an end. For those of you that follow the news over in North Korea, Kim Jong-un, his daughter, came out with him the other day. She's a teenager, but they say that she is the successor to him. And if she's anything like him, then she will be a brutal dictator. But she's a teenager right now. By the way, if you follow international news, ISIS has reclaimed Syria again. Yes, ISIS is back. They're not finished. ISIS is back in Syria. We have the war in Thailand and Cambodia still going on. We have the war in Russia and Ukraine. There was a story out during the holidays that the Ukrainians tried to drop a drone on one of his residences. They say they didn't do it. I don't know, folks. What do you believe? They say they want peace. I don't know what to believe. I don't know what's going to happen in Russia and Ukraine. I still don't know what's going to go on. So you don't hear all these stories every day unless you listen to the BCC or international news. There are wars all over the world. Oh, and by the way, Trump is trying to do something about Venezuela. I think he's making some headway there. He's taking out all these drug boats out in the open waters every day. It looks like Venezuela is getting a little bit nervous here. I saw in the news this week about it. Maybe they're about to back off a little bit. Sometimes it's better to lay low than to get kicked out of power. Just look at the guy that was in Syria. They ran him away to Russia. So that's just food for thought there. I like to talk about some of these international legal stories. I think it's interesting. So this is the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram, 105.5 WERC in Birmingham. We're also on in Huntsville this year, and we're also on in Tuscaloosa. If you're in Tuscaloosa, I am sorry about the game the other night. The Alabama season is over, and it looks like they're going to be looking for a new coach in 2 years. I don't think DeBoer is going to be the answer for Alabama. I just don't think he has it in his blood to win a championship. But what do I know about football? And people are bad-mouthing Lane Kiffin. He may be the golden goose egg prize here in a couple of years if he does well at LSU. But we shall see in the future for them. We hope that you listen to this broadcast. We hope that you download it, like it, share it. Tell us what you want to know. We want to be funny. We want to be informative. We want to provide good quality information, and we want you to enjoy it a little bit. We like to loosen things up a little bit. When people come in my office for a consult, we're not stiff. We're not all serious all the time. Even in the worst of times, we try to get you to laugh and break a smile a little bit and deal with whatever legal issue you have. That is our goal when you come to see us at our office. We welcome you in. We have coffee, we have teas, we have water, and we try to make you relax and deal with whatever legal issue you have, and we try to assist you with your legal problem that you have in your life at that moment in time, because we know it is important to you. That is the most important case at that moment in time. Okay? So if you have a legal issue, let us know. We'll try to assist you in the coming year. And we are so grateful to be back on iHeartRadio. We're glad that we are able to expand to the Huntsville market this year. Oh, up in Huntsville, you guys are growing by leaps and bounds. You don't need me to tell you this. Eli Lilly is up there. The FBI buildings are up there. The Redstone Arsenal is growing by leaps and bounds. The Madison County area grew by 10,000 acres in the last year by taking in some land. Madison County is the place to be in Alabama for jobs in the coming years. It is growing. Engineers developed the Madison County interstate system very well, 565 up there. Madison County is beautiful. I think it's one of the top 20 cities in the United States for livability or something like that. I'm not sure. I'll go look it up. Don't want to put out something that's not true or correct, but I think I'm right about that. Mobile is doing well. The Dothan area is growing well. Birmingham is declining a little bit. The biggest thing we have going for us here in Birmingham is UAB. UAB is Birmingham, and Birmingham is UAB. That's the biggest thing probably in Birmingham. Everywhere you go, you say UAB. And by the way, just a side note to the city of Birmingham, I would really appreciate if you're going to dig up the roads through Birmingham, can you repave them once in a while? I mean, I'm sick of all the potholes I have to ride around to get through Birmingham to get to the courthouse. That's just my little pet peeve on my box on Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon if you're listening to our broadcasts up in Huntsville. So you're listening to the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram, your Alabama lawyer. 205-825-5297, 205-825-5297. Call Elizabeth or Holly if you need a consultation. We'll be glad to get you in about whatever issue you have, whether it's a divorce case, a criminal case, or a personal injury case. We will be glad to assist you. In the next minute or so, I want to share with you my parting thought for the new year. People come up with resolutions. Resolutions don't work, folks. Make a plan. Make a goal. A goal is better than a resolution any day. I've already seen people break their resolutions already, and we're 3 days into the new year. Okay? For me, in January, we ramp our mileage because the more you run in the winter, the better you are in the summer when we get into running season. So I'm excited to get out there. It was really cold this last week running a couple days. With the wind chill, it was down in the 20s. I mean, that wind was hitting me in the face. You have to really be dedicated to running that kind of weather. But that's what we deal with in Alabama. At least we're not dealing with the snow that they have in New York and up north. I'll take 20s degree weather any day. You're listening to the Legal Lowdown. We're going to be with you every Saturday this year. We're glad to be a part of your Saturday morning or your Saturday afternoon. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next week. Have a good week. Got to go. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Legal Lowdown with your lawyer, Joe Ingram of Joe Ingram Law. Don't forget to follow Joe's Legal Lowdown podcast on iHeart. If you need a private legal consultation, reach out to Joe on his website, joeingramlaw.com. Tune in again next Saturday for the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram. No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by any other lawyer.